Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Dannon Yoga. My name is David Dannon. First of all, I want to apologize for the production value of this video. I don't have a camera person. I don't have a sound rig. It is what it is. I'm sure it will evolve and improve over time, but I just feel that at this point it's more important to get the information out to people and help them in their yoga practice. So today's topic is, what is the most important asana in the practice? Coming from where I came from in yoga years ago, the old school yogis used to call the headstand the king of asanas. And they would say that if there was only one posture you were going to do, it should be the headstand. From the point of view of what an inversion does to your body, reversing the flow of gravity on the internal organs, getting the blood flow into the head, neck, upper body, that it's true that there is no replacement for an inversion. That being said, headstands were considered important because they're one of the easier ones to hold for long lengths of time. And back in those days, the time you spent upside down was considered more important, or as important as being upside down. Now everybody wants to get into a handstand or a Pinchamayurasana. I don't know anybody can hold a handstand for more than a minute or two. But back in those days, long headstands were the rule. I did a Jiva Mukti video back in the 90s that had an 8-minute headstand in it. I had a friend who was doing Iyengar yoga with a woman, and her class was sort of by invitation only, and my friend asked her if she could bring me, and the woman said, well, if he can't hold a headstand in the middle of the room for 10 minutes, tell him not to come. Well, as it turned out, I can't hold a headstand in the middle of the room for 10 minutes, and when I got to her class, half of her students could not, but I digress. The point is that holding inversions for a longer length of time was considered critical. So that being said, there is another posture that permeates the practice throughout, and it is the most important posture to me in the general overall view of the practice, and that's Tadasana, the humble mountain pose. Why is that? Tadasana should be correct, upright posture. And I know that a lot of people and teachers have heard the old adage, find Tadasana in the posture. The reason that it's important is because the spine, when it's in correct alignment, has the most amount of what you call joint centricity. The space between each vertebrae is a joint. Anytime you have two separate bones coming together, it's a joint. And you want to find the position that has the most available movement with the least amount of impingement. So correct upright posture is where the spine has those qualities. Now, Patanjali in his 8 limbs doesn't define asana as anything to do with hatha yoga. It's correct spinal alignment. And since he is taking you to ultimately meditation and samadhi, that correct spinal alignment is part of what he prescribes for when you're sitting in meditation, because the life force can flow most easily through the correctly aligned spine. So how does that apply to your yoga practice? Now, not every posture you're going to find Tadasana in. Obviously, if you're doing Urdhva Dhanurasana or something like that, you probably won't. But there are a lot of other postures you will, inversions included, which I'll get into at another time, specifically to inversions. But we will talk about some of the postures, the specific postures now where you can apply Tadasana to. In the next video, I'm going to get into the problems of chronic posture problems, which will inhibit you from being in Tadasana naturally. But on this one, I wanted to get right into the meat of it, so I'll give you stuff that you can apply to your practice. So let's look at postures where we can find Tadasana in the different postures we do. Well, obviously, straight on Tadasana, for sure. Okay, so let's think about forward bend. You might think forward bend, well, I can't have Tadasana and forward bend. Well, let's look at it. So, part of Tadasana, or correct spinal posture, is the relationship of the pelvic girdle to the spine. So what happens in forward bend, people that don't know better, and I'm sure you see them all the time, they go like this to get into their forward bend. But what should initiate the forward bend, you should be keeping the spine and the pelvis in the same alignment as when you're up here. You're just pivoting from down here. And what happens is eventually you will get to the point where the hamstrings will put the brakes on all this, okay? It might, for some people, it might be here.
For others, it might be here. It might be down lower. That doesn't matter. But the point is once you get to that point where your hamstrings are putting the brakes on it, you might want to hang out there a little bit and just let the hamstrings take it. Now, where you go from there, in my opinion, is I think, in my opinion, in a forward bend, you should never do this. Pull the navel up to the front of the spine. If you come down and you want to drop your chin and round your shoulders a little bit, that's okay. But to me, this is just not good. There's nothing good about it, okay? In my opinion, it does massage the internal organs to a degree and could be beneficial from a restorative standpoint in some occasions, but not every time you're taking a forward bend in your practice. Okay, let's look at some other ones that are as obvious. Let's say Trikonasana. So in Trikonasana, the first movement is to pull the pelvis back. Now I'm not going to maintain that. I'm going to be going this way a little bit off of my pelvis, but what I don't want to do is go front or back off of my pelvis. So as I take this out, my spinal curves, my thoracic, lumbar, cervical curve have stayed the same. My spine is leaning off of my pelvis a little bit, but I'm still maintaining my Tadasana curves. I'm not in a big back bend. I'm not collapsing forward. I'm trying to maintain this active, upright posture in my spine. Now, to do that, I have to engage. That's part of what engaging the locks and bandhas does in yoga, is it creates core support that allows the pelvic girdle to be stabilized so that you can move it without being all wishy-washy in the spine. So I come down. Now, if I come down and all of a sudden this happens, I need to back off and come back, find it again, and go for it. Okay, let's take Parsvakonasana. Same thing. We all know the basics. Knee over the ankle, heels the furthest thing behind you. All that stuff. I always start with this version of Parsvakonasana and find my Tadasana spine. I don't want to be hanging in my flexibility like this. I don't want to go forward and collapse into it, or wrap and hang forward. I don't want to put a big back bend into it. I'm trying to find the optimum position for my spine, for my life force to move through my body. Because without that, you might as well be over at the gym doing yoga laddis or something, because it's not yoga at that point. This is life. This is allowing your life force to move through your body when you're doing a hatha yoga practice. So when I come into Parsvakonasana, I'm going to engage my bandhas. I'm going to feel that extension through the back heel that's going to carry through my spine. And I'm going to take my head in a neutral position. I don't want to drop my chin. I don't want to look up and out. I don't want my head to fall down toward my ears or go up toward my ears. I want the most neutral position of my spine that I can find. If I'm going to take the posture deeper, everything has to stay the same. I would use block here probably because I'm not warmed up. But if you drop down and all of a sudden it goes squirrely, you've lost your Tadasana in your practice. So, those are just a couple of examples. Always look for it in your practice. So doing yoga will for sure help your body. It will help your posture. It will help your alignment. It will help resolve issues that you may have in your posture. In the next part of this video, I'm going to cover the other aspects of chronic posture problems that yoga will not address. And unfortunately, because of our lifestyles, the way that we grow up as kids in this society, there's a lot of learned behavior and a certain amount of trauma that we experience that will affect you on the level of your posture and your Tadasana that you may need to address outside of the yoga practice. So until then, thank you for watching. Like it, subscribe. If you have any comments, if there's anything you want me to talk about in the future, I will be glad to do that. Let me know. And until the next video where we cover the other aspects of this, of Tadasana and the practice. Thank you for watching, and namaste.